How's it, everybody? It's your weekly vitamin. I don't have anything of scriptural nature to speak about today. Although we did the Bible study today, I want to talk about a bit more private, personal stuff, something I need to get off my chest. In case those of you who don't know, actually no, scratch that, I'll speak about that in a minute. So we live in Bahrain, on a little island, my wife and I. And we had a little dog. Actually, we've had Lucky for 14 years. He was a rescue dog. There used to be, we lived in Saudi when we got him. There used to be an organization called PAWS. Pets Association or something or other. And one of the ladies that ran it lived on the compound that we were on. So we had said to her, look, we're interested in getting a dog. We had told her we're interested in getting a dog. And in Saudi, dogs are not, the Saudis consider dogs unclean animals. So it's not a place where people breed dogs. Very difficult to find dogs there. But as God would have it, I suppose, people were either leaving Saudi or coming to Saudi or something, and they just abandoned their dogs or their puppies on the causeway. So the lady got hold of us and said, look, she's got two what appear to be West Island Terriers, but they're not sure, they may be cross. Would we be interested in one, because there's another family that will take one but they don't want both. So we said fine, yeah, sure, we've been looking for a dog, we'll take. And so Lucky came into our lives. I think that was around about 2006. Yeah, about 14 years ago. And he's been with us ever since. He was a constant companion for my wife. And about 4 years ago, July 4 years ago, I can't remember, I can't think about it now. So about 4 years ago in July, we had to take, our eldest daughter was already in America by that time, studying at Liberty. And then this year it was the youngest one's turn. She also left. And at the same time, my work circumstances at the company I work for changed. The branch that I was running in Kobar, or in the Eastern Province, had lost a very, very big account. And so we didn't really have enough money to justify a branch there. And one of the managers in Riyadh had resigned, so I was transferred to Riyadh. But my wife was still working in a school in the Eastern Province, and we couldn't afford for her to give up that job. Otherwise we couldn't pay for the two kids in university. My salary on its own was not enough. So we made the difficult decision of I would go to Riyadh. I'd live there in the week, do my work, and then I'd come home on weekends. So at the same time, my wife had to send her daughter to America, her baby, and she only got to see her husband 2 days a week. But she said to me that the saving grace for her was the dog, because he was always there. He was another little breath in the house, always happy to see her, unconditionally loved us. And so he really helped her through some dark times. A little dog, man. He was just the most awesome little man. But now that things are changing for us again, my wife has resigned her job and we are probably moving on to other things. One of the harder decisions was, okay, well, if we're going to leave wherever we're going to end up, we can't really take the dog with us. So we got pets relocators to arrange for us to send the dog to the kids in America. And the kids were very excited about this because they hadn't seen it. You know, we haven't seen them for 2 years. We were going to go now in July, but COVID stuck a stake in those plans. So they haven't seen the dog for about 2 years, and they were super excited. Bought him little toys, bought him little bowls and all, because he was going to come live with him. And on Monday morning, so the guys told us they're coming to fetch the dog at 12:30, and the whole morning the dog was like lazing around. And at 12 o'clock I came into the room with my wife and I said, okay, they're coming in about half an hour, let's start preparing the dog. And I was gonna, you know, spend some time with him and say goodbye, because he's he's gonna be flying to his to our kids. But the man from the petrol relocators was half an hour early, so it was a huge rush. Dog in the crate, off he went. And as the guy carried the dog through the gate, I went into the room, and my wife was sitting on the bed looking out the window. Our bedroom looks out on the front gate, and the two of us just sat down there, and I said to her, wow, that was too fast. You know, I didn't really have time to say goodbye. And we were sad. I mean, dog had been with us for 14 years. But we knew that he was going to the kids and he was going to be very well looked after. And he was going to be loved. So Monday was a sad day for us. I kept looking for the dog all over the place. Tuesday came, I knew he was going to be on a flight at 8:30 in the morning. So I took out my little flight radar app and I plugged in the flight details for him, and I tracked him. And so he had flown to Dubai the previous evening, and now at 8:30 on Tuesday morning he was put onto a 14-hour flight to Dallas, Washington. And I was tracking the flight every time during the day, and I thought of the dog. I'd pull out the app and see where he was now. And he was there, and then he was flying over past Iceland, and then he was flying past Greenland, and then he was taking the curve down south, flying over Canada, over Newfoundland. Yeah, I was watching him. And then our Bible study started, which is always on Tuesday evenings, around about 8 o'clock. So he'd been flying for 12 hours by then. So he had another, just under a 2 hour before he landed. And I was doing the Bible study, and it was a really awesome Bible study. God was so present. We were really learning His Word, sharing with each other as men. And I was happy. I was joyful. Just as the Bible study was to end, I got a message from my youngest daughter, which just said, please go to Mommy, we have bad news. My wife was already sleeping by this time, because it was around midnight, well, 11 o'clock in the evening. Yeah, it was around about 11 o'clock. So I went into the room, and my daughter phoned on the video call, and I woke my wife up. And when I saw my daughter, she didn't even have to say anything. When I saw her, my heart just dropped. I knew what she was about to say. I knew. what the bad news was that she was going to give us. And she tried to say it gracefully, but the tears just were flowing. And she told us that Lucky hadn't made it. When the people that were to collect him in Dulles and transport him to the kids in Lynchburg, when they picked him up, he had passed away. I gotta tell you, I think people with pets know. Those without pets will just say, well, you're crazy, man, it's just a pet. Those with pets know how devastating that news can be. I was shattered. My wife was shattered. The kids were shattered. And then the guilt came. I mean, was it our fault? Did we put him on the flight too early? What did we do with this? Did we that? How did he die? Did he die all alone in a little cargo hold? Subsequently, I've done some research and I found out that when animals travel like this, they usually when they're on the plane and the plane takes off, animals usually go into a very, very deep sleep. That's why they don't need to give them sedation when they're flying, because they go into a very deep sleep. So he had already, I mean, he was 14 years old. He had a bit of a heart arrhythmia issue. His heart was a bit enlarged. But he was okay. He was under vet supervision, and the nice thing with Emirates is they will not fly a dog if they think there's something wrong. So we had to get vet clearance from our vet, and then they still had a vet examine the dog, examine Lucky in Dubai before he flew. So he was well enough to fly. But I think with his heart, it was just when he went into that deep sleep, I think he just didn't wake up from it. So at least we have comfort that he went peacefully. But it still hurts. But I think the thing that gives me a lot of comfort is Christ comforts me. Because in the Bible, Matthew chapter 5 verse 4, it's part of the Beatitudes. It's part of Jesus' Sermon on the Mount. And verse 4 says, "Blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted." And so the last 3-4 days have been really hard. The first day was tough. The second day was just as hard, and you know, I would walk down the passage in our house, and the dog Lucky always used to walk next to me when I go to the kitchen, because he knew that he would get a treat when I was there. And if I deviated from my steps, he would bump my ankles with his little wet nose, as if to say, no, not this way, you got to go that way, that's where you want to be. So, and when I would walk down the passageway and think of that, man, my knees would get weak, and the grief would just overwhelm me. But by the third day, I think we humans are fortunate that we cannot sustain that amount of grief. Then I started getting angry. I was never angry at God. I mean, you know, the dog was old, things happen. If I got angry at God every time something went wrong in my life, I'd always be angry with him. And God allows things to happen. But he's not a vindictive God, he's a loving God. But I was angry at the world. I was angry at us. I was angry at the dog for dying. And then halfway through the day, it was as if the Lord's Spirit just touched my heart. And he said to me, son, it's okay. It's okay to cry, it's okay to grieve, it's okay to be angry. But you got to accept that the dog is gone. You got to accept. You just got to accept it. Remember the good times. Remember the beauty that you had with the dog. Remember all the fun he had. Remember how much joy he gave your wife in the times when she was struggling. And the dog was always there for you. Remember the good times. Don't forget that he's whatever's making you angry. Just give it to me. I'll carry it. So I did. I gave it to God. And that's the comfort that God gives. He carries our burdens. He carries our grief. Takes it upon himself so that we don't have to carry it. He's given me back my joy. I am still sad. I am still, when I think of the dog, I miss him. But at least it's not debilitating anymore. God's got his hand on my shoulder, hugs me when I need it, kicks me under my arse when I need it. That is the God that we know. He knows everything we go through. And he wants to just help us. And be our comforter. And he comforts perfect. So I know this hasn't been a vlog that I usually do, which is expositing the sermons, the verses we do with our Bible study. But I thought I would honor the dog with a ride and to talk about him. And ultimately, it's not about me, it's not about the dog. It's about the comfort that is found in Jesus Christ alone. I have no idea how I would have handled this kind of grief before I knew the Lord. So, the Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord turn his countenance upon you and give you peace. This is Vitamin Out.